Hi, everyone. Welcome to Strength in Numbers. My name is Melissa Cotton. I'm a field specialist in nutrition and health education for the University of Missouri Extension. And I'm so excited that you have decided to join Strength in Numbers. I think we are going to have a lot of fun and learn a lot from each other and help to spread wellness related successes to our groups and our communities and beyond. So, just a little bit about the University of Missouri Extension. We are a land grant institute, and as an employee, it is my duty to take research that typically happens at a university level and take it to all citizens of Missouri and beyond. I know we have many people here that are from outside of Missouri, and that's completely fine. And the idea is that everyone, no matter where you are, um, should have access to research-based education. And so that's sort of my job to spread that in the health and wellness realm. So, a little bit more about strength in numbers. The idea is to really empower group leaders and inspire healthier communities. This is a health promotion program that helps group members identify healthy behaviors and support each other in making healthy changes. Sometimes it may feel like our village is small or that we don't have a very big support system. And so this program is really all about building that and helping each other set goals and to stay accountable and to learn new information to help us to achieve our health goals. And so for me, what this brings to my mind is if you've ever set up dominoes in a row and you get a long line and you push over the first one, the rest of them fall, right? And this is the domino effect. And I think this we can use this effect or this idea for good when we share our knowledge and our resources and when we make positive changes in our own life. This impacts those around us in a positive way too. It's almost like it gives people permission to set their own health goals or to kind of follow in line with you. In the same manner, we can lean on and learn from others in our circles as well. So sometimes we are the one that is supporting another, and sometimes we need that support from someone else. And so hopefully this group can serve as both of those things for us. I just had this talk with an elementary principal the other day, and I said, "Oh, it's so cool that you get to kind of set the vibe for your school." I'm sure there's a lot of pressure in that, but it's also nice to know how influential you can be. And I think it's important for all of us, no matter where we are in our life, we too have influence over others. We too are leaders, maybe in our family or a club that we're a part of, or our friend group, or our living community. So it's important to remember that we have influence, we have power. And so, you can think about this in deeper examples. Like, have you ever adopted a different habit or a hobby because someone you worked with or a friend that you had was doing that? Maybe you have a friend that's really into pickleball and they're invited you one day and all of a sudden you too love pickleball. It's kind of contagious sometimes. Or if you've ever watched a new show or tried a new restaurant because someone told you about it. Or another example, my kids over the summer started watching this movie on Netflix called K-pop Demon Hunters. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to the soundtrack when I'm on my runs or jogs. I'm listening to the soundtrack of this kids movie. So we are we are always influencing and we're always being influenced. And so if we can use that power for good, we can really help to change the world and make it a healthier place. So, along the same line, I want you to consider the question that I have on the screen, which is how does your environment or your inner circle impact your health habits? In my own life, an example from my life is one time I lived in a community that just didn't have very good sidewalks. And I had moved there and I wanted to be able to ride my bike to work. I didn't live that far. But what I soon found is that it was kind of dangerous. The sidewalk would be there and then it would be all crumbly and then it would stop and it would just be grass. And there was this really busy highway right next to the path I needed to take. And it only took me a time or two before I said, you know what? This is just not worth it. I had this health goal, but because my environment was not set up to support that goal, I kind of had to give up. And sometimes that happens in life in sort of a negative way. And sometimes it can be a positive thing. So, an example, again, I have an older sister and she got really into like natural cleaning products and using unscented products. And I thought, what are you doing? And I decided I wanted to kind of learn more about it. So I did this project at work. And I found that, yeah, maybe those things aren't great for us if we're using them all the time. And so it really did encourage me to maybe take a look at the types of products I was bringing into my home. So I'd like you to kind of pause this video if you are with your group and talk about and think about, how does your environment, the places that you frequent, think about your church, your living facility or the neighborhood that you live in, maybe your workplace, the places that you frequent, how do they impact your health choices and your health habits? And how do the people around you influence that? So go ahead and pause the video, take 5, 10 minutes to discuss this, and then push play when you're ready. Okay, so hopefully you had a good discussion. It's a good thing to think about, and I really want you to kind of be more aware about this over the next few weeks and see if you notice anything different than what you had in mind today. Because the fact is that our environment does have a really big impact on us, as do the people who we see on a regular basis. Research shows that family members influence each other's health habits. I would go as far to say our coworkers do, our friends, the people we live near. We also know that people are much more likely to make changes if they gain support from others. And we are going to help each other and support each other in this group as we make changes in our own health journey. And we're kind of going to become each other's health family in a way. So, the objectives of today's lesson are to discuss ways to assure success with our health goals, to be able to list 3 reasons why habits are hard to change, to describe some negative effects of stress and various causes of stress, and we're going to set a SMART goal and share it with the group. All right. So, since you've decided to participate in Strength in Numbers, you may have in mind a health change that you'd like to make. There's probably something that you think, oh, I really should work on this, or I've been wanting to try this. And I want you to keep that in mind because every time we meet, we're going to set a new goal. But I think it's important to understand how setting goals how the way that we set goals matters, the way that we write them or think about them matters in terms of how successful we are likely to be. So, in one research trial, they got all these people and they split this big group of people up into 5 groups, and they had them do different things in terms of their goal setting. So, the first group, they just told them, "I just want you to think about your goal and mentally kind of rate the difficulty, the importance, how likely you think you're going to be able to accomplish this." They just had the group think about it. The next group, they said, we want you to think about it and then we want you to write it down. And we also want you to rate it on difficulty, importance, how likely you think you will be able to accomplish this goal. The third group, they had to take a step further. They said, write your goal, rate your goal, and think about your action plan. Kind of create a plan of how you are going to tackle this particular goal. The fourth group, they had to do all of those same things that group 3 and 2 and 1 did, but they also wanted them to tell a friend what their goal was. So they wrote it down, they rated it, they made an action plan, and then they had to go tell their friend. And finally, group 5, they had to do all of those same things, all the way up to telling their friend, but then they also had to give that friend weekly updates about their progress on that particular goal. So, which of these groups do you think was the most successful? Group 5 members were the most successful. Having a friend hold them accountable for achieving their goals increased their chances of success the most. Now, of course, all of the other parts are important, the thinking, the writing, the making an action plan, all of those things. But having someone to help keep you accountable is a really important piece to make sure you're successful in achieving that goal. Interestingly, support from other people is not the only thing that helps to make us successful in making changes. The way that we set our goal can also help us to be successful. So in this program, every month we are going to set a SMART goal. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time framed. And it really helps us to be very specific in the goal that we set so that we can actually look back and measure it, see how we're doing, see if we're making progress. So when we say specific, it should be something that I could see you do. I could take a picture of you doing. So sometimes our goals may be around weight loss or weight gain. Well, I can't really take a picture of someone losing weight in an instant in time. However, I could take a picture of someone replacing a soda with a bottle of water, right? We also want the goal to be measurable. How much are you going to do? Are you going to do 20 minutes? Are you going to um, add a vegetable to one additional meal a week? Are you going to have 3 servings of fruits at during your day? So it kind of depends on what your goal is for how that will look, but we need it to be something very specific that we can measure. A is for attainable. So, how confident are you that you are going to be successful? We want to be pretty confident that we can do this goal, that we can carry it out. So, think about a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being the least confident you could be and 10 being the most confident. It's a really good idea to be at about a 7 or higher so that we're pretty sure that we're going to be successful. Okay. We don't want to set ourselves up for failure. We want this to be a domino effect. We want to hit our goal, and that's going to motivate us to set the next one, right? Then we want it to be relevant. So sometimes when we set goals, we think we want to do it, but really we set it because someone else thinks that we need to do it. A friend or a spouse or a child has said, "Oh, you should really do this," and so then we try to absorb that and make it our own. Or society tells us it's something that we should do. But we really want our goals in this class to be things that we want to do that are important to us. Now, I will say that sometimes we don't really understand if we want to do it until we're into that month and we're trying to make progress towards that goal. And then sometimes we realize, oh, the reason this is so hard is because I don't actually want to do it. And that's okay. If you learn that along the way, you can set a new goal. This is still progress because we are learning about ourselves through this process. Okay. And then finally, time frame. So when will you do it? Like maybe time of day or days of the week. Again, that helps to make it very specific. Now, we want our goals to be specific, but it is okay to have a little flexibility. So say my goal was to walk 3 times a week and I was going to do that in the morning, but one day it's storming really bad. Well, I could go to plan B and maybe walk inside instead, or I could just do it that afternoon when the weather was nicer. So we do want to have a little bit of flexibility as we go and as things change because life happens. So again, just to give an example of a goal could be, I will walk 1 mile. I do feel like this is attainable. My confidence level is an 8 that I could do this 3 times a week. Yes, I've been wanting to do this. This is something that I want to do. I know I feel better when I walk, and so I want to do it more often. And I looked at my schedule, which I would encourage you to do, and I'm going to do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. That's where I can really feel like confident that I can get this in. If I were to set this goal and my confidence level was more at like a 5 or 6, sometimes if you look at the number of times that you're committing to that, sometimes we want to just set really high goals and say, oh, I'm going to do this 7 times a week right off the bat. Well, what if you kind of brought that down to more like 3 or 4? Does that increase your confidence? It's okay not to do things perfectly. We can start at a small goal, like 3 to 4 days, even 2 to 3 days, one day, and we can build from there. So don't feel bad if you can't do it 7 days right off the bat. Okay. It's okay to kind of bring that down a little bit if that boosts your confidence. All right. And remember, we talked about earlier, kind of in that research study, tracking is really important. I'm going to give you a sort of a blank calendar. It's in your handout that you can use to track your progress. And I really encourage you to keep track to know, am I making progress toward this? And then you could share that with a friend or share that with your support system. And you don't have to use the particular tool I give you. You could use the Notes app in your phone. You could use a blank piece of paper, whatever works for you. But tracking is a key to being successful. So before we get into setting our our smaller goals, the types of goals that we're going to set each month, let's do a little daydreaming and think big for a minute. Think about our long-term health goals. What are we in the end trying to achieve right now? What's like a really ideal situation for us? Are we trying to run a 5K? Are we trying to be able to go on a bike ride again? Are we trying to lose weight, gain weight? Like, maybe it's we're trying to start a new workout program. There are so many different big goals out there, and don't let my words influence you. Like, really think about what is important to you. And I'd like you to pause this presentation. Give yourselves about 1 to 2 minutes. You can do this individually. Just kind of write out what is important to you and really think about why are you here? What are you hoping to achieve? Give yourself a couple minutes to think about that and write that down. If you've given it the 1 to 2 minutes or however long your group took, and if anybody is feeling open to sharing what their bigger goals are and you have time for that in your group, that would be awesome to just kind of share a few of those around. Again, in this group, we're really not focused too much on the big goal, but it's good to be in touch with that and revisit that. Like, what is my big overarching goal? So that I know that the small goals that I set in this program are building up to something. Small steps lead to big changes, right? These are great big goals, but we need to break these down. I can't, if this group is meeting once a month, right? Our strength in numbers group, I can't lose 25 pounds in a month. I can't train for a marathon in a month if I haven't been running, right? That's too much too quickly. But we can take those bigger goals and we can break them down into small pieces and focus on one small piece at a time. Okay, so if like, say I wanted to start a new workout program and I hadn't worked out for a while, one small step may be just researching what programs are available in my community. The next step might be, do I need new tennis shoes and saving up for the new tennis shoes? Um, Maybe it's like I need to go tour this location and get a membership. There's a lot of small steps to get there. So focusing on one of those small steps, focusing on one thing at a time is really important for success. So you can decide what that first step is for you this particular month. Don't forget to make it something that you want to do. And again, you don't have to do this every single day. Okay. I really do encourage you to start smaller, allow yourself time to build up. We want to set ourselves up for success. All right. So here we are going to actually write down, like the research says, we want to write down our goals. There's a template in your handout where you can do this, but again, use a piece of paper, use your phone, whatever makes sense for you, because I'd really like you to eventually put these goals somewhere you're going to see them regularly, on your fridge, on your mirror, in your car, wherever you think will be effective for you. Write down the goal, write how much or how often you're going to do that specific thing. Write when you're going to do it. Kind of look at your schedule and be like, this is what would work for me. Then you're going to rate your confidence from 1 to 10. We want to be at about a 7 or higher. And then who is going to help to support me in this goal? And we all have something to write now because we're all a part of the Strength in Numbers program. So if you didn't feel like you had a support system before, that's what this is all about. That's why we're here. So you do have this group to help keep you accountable. Okay. So I want you to take some time. This is a really important part of today's lesson. Take some time, write a goal, and then share that. Have everybody kind of go quickly and, don't take up a lot of time because we have some more to go through today, but share that within your group because that's the important piece. We got to tell our friend and then those support systems, those people in our group. And then those are the folks that are going to help us to keep accountable. And check on each other. Check on each other. How you doing? I know you set your goal to drink more water. How's that going? Check on each other over the next months and encourage the people that you're working with. So here's a little visual of that goal tracker. Again, use whatever makes sense to you, but do remember to keep track. All right. So goal setting is great. It's really good. It's the core of the Strength in Numbers program. But it would be silly of me to say reaching our goals is easy. In fact, they are really challenging. Often we have a lot of barriers that get in the way of us achieving our goals. And one of those barriers that we're going to focus on for the rest of today's session is stress. We all have it. We all have it in varying amounts at varying times. Stress is one of those things that it's never going to go away fully. It's going to ebb and flow. The source of the stress may change, but we're always going to have to deal with it. And we really want to learn healthy ways of managing our stress because stress has a really big impact on our health. I've been hearing a lot of people are stressed right now. I don't know if it's the start of school, the changing of the seasons, um, getting closer to the holidays, an accumulation of all of those things. But I just felt like this would be a good first topic for us to start with. So think about this. Who's felt stressed in the past week? Raise your hand. My goodness, I've been stressed multiple times in the past week, if I'm being honest, right? Some weeks are worse than others, and it's been a busy week. So I have definitely experienced stress, and I'm sure you have as well. So let's look a little bit about what stress does, how it works inside our body. What are some of the things that happen when we're under stress? So, when the body begins to experience stress, it signals for the release of hormones in our bodies, and this is often referred to as the fight or flight response. Sometimes we add other words in there like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all kind of the same thing. Everybody sort of that has a different go-to when they're dealing with stress, but this is referred to as the fight or flight response. The first player in stress, one of the main hormones that is released is something called adrenaline. Okay, so often I relate adrenaline to like people who take a lot of risks, who like roller coasters, jumping out of airplanes. That's kind of big scale. We can experience adrenaline if like we're playing a basketball game or a card game and we want to win. But it causes an increase in our heart rate, our blood pressure, and our energy supply. Adrenaline helps ensure that our muscles and our brain are supplied with blood so that they can act quickly or think quickly to avoid this threat or this source of stress. And when blood goes more to our muscles and our brain, the blood flow decreases to our skin. And in small spurts, this isn't a major deal, but when we experience stress a lot, and most of us do, we're experiencing stress pretty frequently. Maybe we could even say we have chronic stress or ongoing stress. And if we frequently have adrenaline in our system and that blood flow is not going to our skin, over time we can start to see consequences such as hair loss or acne. The second main hormone that we see associated with stress is called cortisol. This is responsible for altering our immune system response and suppressing our digestion. Cortisol can cause blood glucose to rise, so our blood sugar is higher, and it enhances our brain's use of glucose. So we're burning through that glucose quicker. And what happens is this causes our body to crave sweets or kind of fatty foods, high carbohydrate foods, high calorie foods, because our body is like, we need lots of energy to make sure that we can fight this threat. Okay. And so I know myself, one of my main symptoms when I'm really stressed is I crave chocolate and it's intense and it's like at the forefront of my mind. Oh, Melissa, I really want chocolate. And you probably have a food that's your go-to too. But again, if this is something that's in our system quite often, if we have that chronic or ongoing stress, and this is going to start to affect our immune system. So we're going to be more at risk for getting sick, or we're going to have a harder time fighting off illness or healing from infections. Our digestive system is going to get thrown off because our body's basically saying digestion's not my main priority. My main priority is, dealing with the stress at hand. And so this can really cause some digestive problems for us. So while a small amount of fight or flight stress can be a good thing, like it might help me. For example, I have company coming over this weekend. That little bit of stress helped me get the house cleaned up. Sometimes that little bit of stress when I have a deadline at work helps me to get it done in time. But a lot of stress is not so good for us, right? We're going to start to see some health consequences. When our body stays in that stress mode for an extended period of time, we have physical and psychological symptoms that can develop. And these symptoms can lead to both health problems, but also problems in our relationships. When we're really stressed, sometimes we aren't our best selves, so it can start to reflect in our relationships. So I really want you to think about today, right now, and even again, pause the video if you have time and really talk about this within your group. How does stress look like for you? What do you experience? And I'll give an example. Like I mentioned, my craving of chocolate. Um, I often feel a really heaviness in my chest, and it's hard to get a full breath. That's something that I experience. I'm definitely more prone to anger and lashing out, like irritability. And so I want you to think about what are the signs and symptoms of stress for you? Because stress displays itself differently for different people. And the more that we can be aware of what stress looks like for us as an individual, the sooner we can realize that we're stressed and we can start to insert those tools for self-management. Often we're stressed so much of the time that we don't even notice the signs and symptoms anymore. So take a moment, discuss this in your group, and then come back for just a little bit more content. Okay, so I hope you had a great discussion in your group about what stress looks like. I want you to kind of watch yourself over the next couple weeks, start to kind of study those signs and symptoms during those times of stress. And maybe there's something you hadn't noticed, you'd kind of not realized that was a symptom. So it's good to be aware so that you can realize sooner that, hey, I need to take a walk. I need to um, stand up from my chair. I need to walk away. Those things that can help us to feel a little bit better, take a break from the stress, and then we can come back after we're a little bit more refreshed. So, on the next few slides, I'm just going to go over some of the multitude of symptoms that we might experience when we're unstressed. And I'm just going to read the slides because I think it's important to understand there's a lot of different things that can happen when we're stressed. So, some emotional symptoms are things like becoming easily agitated, frustrated, moody, feeling overwhelmed. Oh, that word is what I use a lot when I think about stress, overwhelmed. Or like you're losing control, or maybe you feel like I need to get control and you start to get like, maybe not so nice, right? You want control. Having difficulty relaxing and quieting your mind, feeling bad about yourself, lonely, worthless, depressed, avoiding others. And unfortunately, often we do isolate when we are feeling stressed. Physical symptoms, low energy, headaches, upset stomach like diarrhea, constipation, nausea, aches, pains, tense muscles, chest pain, rapid heartbeat, insomnia, frequent colds and infections, loss of sexual desire or ability, nervousness and shaking, ringing in the ear, cold, sweaty hands and feet, dry mouth and difficulty swallowing, clenched jaw, and grinding teeth. Some cognitive symptoms, things like constant worrying, you just can't quiet your mind, racing thoughts, forgetfulness and disorganization, or I think of it as just having a really hard time focusing. Oh, that's the next one, inability to focus, poor judgment, being pessimistic or seeing only the negative side, right? And then finally, behavioral symptoms, because stress absolutely impacts our behaviors, right? It changes our appetite. Sometimes we eat more, sometimes we don't have an appetite, so we eat less. Maybe we are procrastinating and avoiding responsibilities, or we started drinking more, using drugs or cigarettes. Sometimes we might have more nervous behaviors like nail biting, fidgeting, and pacing. So as you can see there, and this is not an exhaustive list, there's more here. So if you thought, well, I thought I had this symptom, but you didn't say that. Well, that's still a symptom if you think it is. So this is a long list, but it doesn't capture everything, and it just goes to show how broadly stress can impact our lives. So all of that was pretty negative, right? Kind of on the negative side. Let's flip the switch and think about what do we have control over when it comes to stress? How can we manage stress in a way that doesn't hurt us more, right? So if you have time, discuss this in your group. If not, you can be thinking about it, and I'm actually going to be sharing some tips for you. So some stress management tips that we really like to highlight that research shows are very effective are things like connecting with those you care about, really fighting against that urge to isolate yourself. Get out, go to those things that your community puts on. If you don't have a community right now at this point, maybe, and you don't have someone you can call or go visit, maybe just going to a store and walking around where other people are, if you are able to do that. Just feeling like you're around people can sometimes be beneficial. And I really hope this support network that we're building is going to help in this area. Keeping a positive attitude, there are just things that in life, unfortunately, I wish it weren't this way, but that things that are just so out of our control. And it's not good to be falsely positive all the time. There, that can be unhealthy too if we're just always positive. But it can be helpful if we have words that we say to ourselves that are that help lift us up. So I hear people often say scripture, like they have certain scripture that they repeat, or maybe you have a mantra, a word, a sentence, a saying that really means something to you and helps you get through those hard times. So keeping that, like writing it on a scrap paper, putting it on the mirror, putting it in your wallet, something like that to help you in moments where stress is just really heavy. Again, kind of mentioned this before, but focusing on what can I control? I can't control everything, but I bet there are some things like in the picture, this individual is going for a walk. That's something that really helps me. Exercise is one huge way that I deal with stress. And so what can I control in this moment? I can control getting up and taking a break from this situation. I can control um, not staying up too late again for another night and instead prioritizing my sleep. I can control not being on my phone for hours and hours at a time or watching the news for too long or things like that. Okay. The other one on the screen is managing our time. A lot of times our stress comes because we just put too much on our plate. Our expectations for ourselves are so high compared to expectations for others, and we set ourselves up for failure and frustration because we just think that we can get more done than what is actually possible. So give yourself grace, just like you would someone else. Give yourself grace and don't put too much on yourself. Do more things that you enjoy. Instead of focusing on getting the bad out and getting rid of the bad or the things that are not going your way, instead, I challenge you to pour more good in your life. Do more of the things that you love. Really push that to the forefront of your focus and your priority list and see if this helps. Also, if you have time, practicing relaxation techniques, 15, 20 minutes a day of things like you could do yoga, you could do deep breathing. If you like to read, that can be really relaxing. Being outside in nature, whatever works for you. Take some time, make it happen. Like I mentioned earlier, for me, exercise is a big coping strategy, and maybe it is for you too. Research says that exercise is hugely helpful in dealing with stress, in making our bodies strong to be able to combat the negative implications, the negative effects of stress. So, highly encourage movement, whatever movement you enjoy, and that you'll keep doing. Sometimes we turn to substances when stress is bad, when it's ongoing, and trying to find a different outlet is really important. Avoiding alcohol and drugs, not smoking. And I always feel bad. It's oversimplification. Just say don't smoke or stop smoking. I understand. I watched family members struggle for years to quit smoking. It's not as easy as just me saying it to you and like, oh, okay, sure. I hadn't thought about that before. But there are support programs out there. There are, the definitely maybe scaling things down as a good first step. So looking at your resources and honing into the support system that we're building to help you make changes if that's something that you're trying to do. Eating healthy goes along kind of with exercise and the next one that I have up too, you can't see it yet, but is sleep. The way that we treat our bodies, the food that we put into it, the way that we move it, allowing ourselves rest and restoration that we get during sleep, our bodies just handle stress better, right? Because we're stronger, we feel better. And so we're better able to deal with that. So again, I said sleep. And then the final one here is seeking out social support, which you're doing. You all signed up, you're here, so you're doing that. Continuing to do that, right? It makes a big difference. Seek out those social connections. Even if you just have one person, two people, sometimes those two deep relationships are better than 10 shallow relationships. So keep that in mind as well. All right, so that kind of ends us for today. Remember that change is hard. This is just month one, right? It's going to be hard as we get into this, but there really is strength in numbers, and we are going to keep practicing this. We're going to keep showing up, and over time, we are going to start checking off some boxes of things that we've accomplished. I do want to share you my contact information. I'll leave this slide up. Please reach out to me for if you have ideas for future topics, if you have questions, concerns, whatever, please reach out. I would say emails preferred, but I will take phone calls. Just give me a little time to get back to you on that as I'm out of the office fairly often. Don't forget to set your goals, to tell your support system what your goals are, to track those goals. We're going to be checking in with each other next month to see how things went. If it didn't go perfect, that's okay. That's life. It's not perfect, but I hope that you are able to make some progress. And I'm just really excited that you're here, and I can't wait till next month. We're going to talk a little bit more about stress and go into sleep as for our lesson, and then we'll set new goals next month. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.